Enjoy a narrated virtual tour of foreign aircraft exhibited at the National Museum of Naval Aviation. Some of the photos and videos on this tour are of the same model aircraft but were captured at other museums. It is free to visit and located on Naval Air Station Pensacola in Florida. Though over 1,000 Hanroid HD-1s were built, they did not see widespread service with the French, as it was overshadowed by its contemporary, the SPAD-7. Instead, they were flown mostly by Belgian and Italian pilots. U.S. Navy officers witnessed the tremendous strides made by the British Royal Navy in operating aircraft from ships during World War I. After the war, the U.S. Navy acquired several for shipboard evaluation, performing launch experiments from wooden decks erected atop the gun turrets of battleships, experiments that were eventually abandoned. HD-1s remained in the Navy's aircraft inventory into the early 1920s. The Sopwith Camel was a British single-seat biplane fighter introduced on the Western Front in 1917, equipping numerous squadrons, including some American units. The plane's maneuverability provided a great advantage in aerial combat. Its attributes were the result of the engine, armament, fuel, and cockpit being crammed into the forward part of the aircraft. A superlative fighter, the Camel was credited with shooting down 1,294 enemy aircraft, more than any other Allied fighter of the war. After the armistice, the U.S. Navy obtained 6 Camels for experiments in operating planes aboard ships using wooden platforms built over a battleship's forward gun turret. The Newport 28 was a capable aircraft in the right hands, but its wing surfaces tended to shed in prolonged power dives and the airplane was very unforgiving of pilot error. The French flying service operated only a limited number of them, making them available to its allies. American pilots of the Allied Expeditionary Force employed the aircraft with great skill, with leading ace Eddie Rickenbacker scoring many of his 26 kills in the aircraft. Despite these early successes, the wing fabric problems remained, and the Americans eventually followed their French counterparts in obtaining the sturdier SPAD fighters. The U.S. Navy acquired the Newport after the war as part of its test program to launch aircraft from wooden decks built on the gun turrets of battleships, a program that was unsuccessful. The Focker D7 evolved into one of Germany's most capable World War I fighters. It could dive without any fear of structural failure, was noted for its high maneuverability and ability to climb, and its remarkably docile stall and reluctance to spin. It could hang on its prop without stalling for brief periods of time, spraying enemy aircraft from below with machine gun fire. It proved to be a remarkably successful design, leading to the familiar aphorism that it could turn a mediocre pilot into a good one and a good pilot into an ace. It was so feared that by the end of hostilities, the Versailles Treaty mandated their surrender to the Allies. The Navy used a handful after the war as trainers. The museum's example of the Focker D7 is a replica aircraft constructed using some original parts. The carrier-borne Mitsubishi A6M Model 210 was the type encountered by the Americans. Thanks to a combination of unsurpassed maneuverability and excellent firepower, it easily disposed of Allied aircraft sent against it in the Pacific in 1941. Although not as fast as the British Spitfire, the Zero could outturn it with ease, sustain a climb at a very steep angle, and stay in the air for 3 times as long. Because of its extreme agility, engaging a Zero in a traditional turning dogfight was likely to be fatal. It was better to swoop down from above at a high-speed pass, fire a quick burst, then climb quickly back up to altitude. Unexpected heavy losses of Japanese pilots at the battles of the Coral Sea and Midway dealt their carrier air force a blow from which it never fully recovered. The museum's example of the A6M20 was assembled using components from a number of wrecked aircraft discovered at an abandoned fighter strip on Bellel Island near Bougainville. The N1K2 Violet Lightning, reporting name George, was among the rare Japanese aircraft that offered pilots an even chance against late-war American designs such as the F-6F Hellcat and the F-4U Corsair, and could be a formidable weapon in the hands of an ace. The George proved to be one of the best dogfighting aircraft produced by either side. As for the task of intercepting bombers, it fared less well, hampered by a poor rate of climb and reduced engine performance at high altitude. Unfortunately for the Japanese, it arrived too late in the war to make a difference. One of 4 surviving examples, the Violet Lightning on display, served with the 343rd Air Group led by the famous Captain Minoru Genda and manned by Japanese aces. The Messerschmitt Me262 Schwalbe, Swallow, was the world's first operational jet-powered aircraft. While in development, Adolf Hitler demanded that it be designed as a ground attack aircraft, which delayed production, eventually becoming operational in mid-1944. They had reliability problems because of strategic materials shortages and design compromises with its Junkers axial flow turbojet engine. It was so fast that German pilots needed new tactics to attack Allied bombers due to its high speed. Even from astern, the closing speed was too great to use the short-ranged quartet of Mk108 cannon to maximum effect. They used roller coaster attacks where they dived through the escort fighters to below the bombers, then pulled up sharply to reduce speed. They would then level off, overtaking the bombers, well placed to attack them. On September 1, 1944, U.S. General Karl Spaatz expressed the fear that if greater numbers of German jets appeared, they could inflict losses heavy enough to force the cancellation of the Allied daylight bombing offensive. Despite its short time in combat, the Me-262 had proven superior to all Allied fighters, accounting for 542 Allied aircraft destroyed while losing 100. Ultimately, it had little effect on the war because of its late introduction and the small numbers that entered service. The displayed aircraft is a 2-seat trainer version, model Me-262B1A. The Mikoyan-Gurevich MiG-15, NATO reporting name Faggot, was one of the first successful jet fighters to incorporate swept wings to achieve high transonic speeds. Initially, they outclassed Navy, Air Force and British fighters in combat, but that changed in late 1950 with the appearance of the Air Force's F-86 Sabre, which met the MiG-15 on equal terms. The main mission of the Faggot was not to dogfight the F-86 but to counter the Boeing B-29 Superfortress bombers. In one exchange experience, Soviet flyers shot down or damaged beyond repair 10 B-29s, 1 F-86 and 3 F-80s for the loss of only 1 MiG. A total of 659 MiG-15s are admitted as being lost by all causes, while U.S. Air Force claims of their losses amount to 78 F-86 Sabres in air-to-air combat. The museum's MiG-15 has been on display since 2002. I hope you enjoyed this narrated virtual tour of the National Naval Aviation Museum's foreign aircraft. If you would like to tour other aircraft in this series, you will find convenient links in the description section below this video. Here are YouTube suggested links on a similar topic that you may enjoy viewing.